meeting number 547. I'm Jordan Maynard, serving as chair. We are holding this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
And good morning, Commissioner Broder.
Good morning.
All right. It's February 24th, 2025. We started at 10 on the dot. Just a housekeeping matter. I am joining by my childhood hometown of Pikeville, Kentucky, that experienced some historic flooding. So I came down this weekend. I appreciate everybody at the Gaming Commission making that possible for me and everyone who's reached out. As such, I only have so much daylight before I fly back to Boston, so I'd like to help some more today. So I'm going to probably sign off early. I started cycling through different commissioners to chair in my absence, and Commissioner O'Brien went first, and then Commissioner Hill. I'm going to ask Commissioner Skinner to chair today's meeting, and then Paul, you're next up on deck the next time I have to be out. And so with that, I'll get through as much as I can before I sign off. We'll turn to Secretary Skinner to go over 4 sets of meeting minutes.
Yep, Mr. Chair, good morning again, and good morning to everyone. I move that the commission approve the executive session minutes from the August 7th, 2023, November 7th.
You made the public session, correct, Commissioner Skinner?
Did I say executive session? Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself because I know we have the executive session later. And then I need to do just a quick run through to make sure.
Yeah.
I need to take 2 motions for these 4 meetings. All right, take 2. I move that the commission approve the minutes from the June 12th, 2023 and the April 29th, 2024 meetings that are included in our packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Abstain.
And I vote yes, 4 and 1 abstention. Excuse me.
All right. I further move that the commission approve the minutes from the January 16th, 2025 and the January 23rd, 2025 meetings that are included in our packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Aye.
And I vote yes, 5-0. Thank you so much, and thank you for catching us up on those, and to the legal team. With that, we're going to turn it over to Edie Serpa for an administrative update. Good morning, Dean.
Good morning, Chair Maynard. How are you?
Good.
I'm hoping you're having a productive time down there, and I'm sure on behalf of everybody at the commission, we want to make sure that people are better off today than they were last week with your effort. So thank you for that. But yep, good morning, commissioners. Very short update today, actually. It's hard to believe we're already at the end of February, but I needed to take a moment to remind everyone that next month, March, is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. And since that's the case, our Director of Research and Responsible Gaming, Mark Vanderlinden, is going to give us some programmatic updates for things that are happening at the casinos and elsewhere next month in recognition of that. So I'll turn it over to Mark, and we'll hear what he has to say. Mark, if you're ready.
Great. Yes, I am. Can you see my screen? I assume so. Hello. Good morning, Chair Maynard. Good morning, commissioners. Yeah, believe it or not, March is right around the corner. For me, that's a really good thing. This spring is as well. So, but March is also National Problem Gambling Awareness Month. So in partnership with the NCPG, National Council on Problem Gambling, the Massachusetts Council on Gaming and Health, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, we recognize March as Problem Gambling Awareness Month each year. there's a new theme this year. It's Seeking Understanding, which is focusing on increasing awareness of problem gambling as a serious but often misunderstood health condition. The campaign seeks to foster greater awareness and empathy, break down barriers for treatment, and provide support for individuals and families impacted by gambling-related harms. This is a grassroots campaign held annually to seek increased awareness of problem gambling and promote prevention, treatment, and recovery support. So there's a lot of different definitions out there that would define what problem gambling is. I refer to our player health framework that was shared with you a few weeks ago. We define it as behaviors that reflect a range of difficulties in limiting money and or time spent gambling, which leads to adverse consequences for the gambler, others, or the community. Gambling disorder is the official sort of recognized mental health diagnosis that's in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, or the DSM. This is not a small problem, as you can see, as cited by the NCPG. There's approximately 2.5 million US adults that meet the criteria for severe gambling problems in any given year, and another 2 to 3%, or 5 to 8 million, that meet one or more of the diagnostic criteria for gambling disorder. In Massachusetts, we released a report that I'll be talking about just a little bit later today and this past year. And that report from a general population survey in Massachusetts estimated that around 80,000 Massachusetts adults, or 1.4%, meet the criteria for problem gambling, as I cited above, and another 490,000, or 8.5%, meet the criteria for at risk. And it's important to understand that that 8.5% is slightly different than how the NCPG is citing the 2 to 3%. But both staggering numbers that I think that the Commission, in partnership with others, need to be squarely focused on. So, Problem Gambling Awareness Month activities. I'm just going to breeze through these and cover a coffee campaign, take a coffee break, Problem Gambling Screening Day with the Cambridge Health Alliance, problem gambling with sports books, and in the community. So the coffee campaign, the objective is to start a conversation with GameSense about the signs of problem gambling and promote Screening Day. One of the findings of the GameSense evaluation that I'll also be addressing a little bit later is one of the primary reasons that people weren't coming to the GameSense Information Center is simply because they didn't feel like there was an invitation to do so. So the purpose of this coffee campaign is, let's create a reason, give them some coffee and an invitation to come speak with one of our wonderful GameSense advisors. There's a number of sort of front of the house tabling events through the month, but this is one that will be sort of time limited. And you'll see that we have a couple things that are happening to promote this coffee event. Both Encore and MGM have through the month been generous and provided both coffee cups, coffee sleeves, and coffee to help promote the event and partner with the GameSense team. There's also some additional branded materials that we're going to be putting out. Here is a new rack card. We have a range of different materials that we put out, and recognizing that there's a range of different ways that people learn and seek out information. We felt that there was a small gap in the way that we were organizing some of our information around problem gambling. And so in partnership with the Mass Council, this new rack card was created, and in large part, it begins to sort of integrate some more information about resources, especially targeting sports bettors. So you'll see on here that we talk about mobile gambling blocking apps. We highlight more clearly the Mass Problem Gambling Helpline and the services that are available through that helpline, and create a QR code that will take you directly to the Mass Problem Gambling Helpline website. And then there's you'll see here, this will be a tabling event front of the house. That is a game that will be set up on an easel at each of the properties. This will also be coming to the Gaming Commission as we have a lunch and learn on problem gambling later this month. So I won't give away any of the answers to the pairs game. And on the right-hand side, we're updating the GameSenseMA.com website. And so you'll see a lot of the material that's coming from sports wagering will be directing people to GameSenseMA.com. And we've provided some updates to our website this month as well. So screening day, this is in partnership with the Cambridge Health Alliance. They offer it on March 11th. And encourages a warm transfer from screening day to somebody that can provide services for them. So screening day is a national-wide campaign, and in partnership with some of the treatment agencies and the Department of Public Health, we don't want to just stop at screening day. For individuals both front of the house and potentially back of the house who screen positive to one of the three questions, we want to make sure that they have somebody that they can talk to, that they know what resources are available out there should they seek to do so. So right now we have confirmed Esperanza for March 11th from 1 to 5 at Encore. And we're working with DPH to make sure that we have somebody set up to visit PPC and MGM to do that similar type of warm handoff and provide information for both casino employees and patrons. And everybody who completes a screening, you'll see consistent with the take a break, coffee break, they will get a porcelain GameSense mug. GameSense is also partnering with our sports wagering licensees. You'll see an email is planned to go out at this point with Bally's, FanDuel, Caesars, and counting. So we're getting the details ironed out here. But a lot of it is we'll continue to promote Problem Gambling Screening Day and provide a connection through live chat with one of a peer specialist or a GameSense advisor. And also just highlight what services are and resources are available. There'll also be a link back to the GameSenseMA.com website for more information. And then there's just a host of different community events through the month, including at Worcester College, speaking with the counseling health professionals that are there. I'll be a part of that event. There's a lunch and learn GameSense and PG 101 here at the Gaming Commission in Boston. And there's a legislative event on 3/26 and multiple events out in the community led by Jody Neely from the Mass Council. So that is it in a nutshell. We always try to have a lot lined up, and I think this year is simply just no different. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Van der Linden. Questions? We look forward to March as always and all the work that you get done.
Yeah, and just a shout out to all of the operators and licensees that help make this happen. There's a lot of coordination that needs to happen.
Well, thank you so much. ED Serpa, anything else for this update?
That's our update for today, but thank you to Mark. That was excellent information, quite helpful. And as always, we appreciate your leadership on the topic. But that's the update, Chairman.
Thank you. All right. So with that, I believe we're going to turn it over to the Chief Financial and Accounting Officer, CFAO Linden, for a budget update.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Commissioners. I'm joined by Executive Director Serpa, Doug O'Donnell, and I think John may be joining, or he may not. He had some conflict that came up, John Scully. We're here to present the FY25 mid-year budget update, which begins on page 32 of your public meeting packet. The commission approved an FY25 budget of $59.54 million for gaming, racing, community mitigation, sports wagering, and research and responsible gaming. In the first quarterly update, the commission authorized us to increase the projected cost for the Gaming Control Fund by $142,000 for additional GEU resources to assist with background checks, as well as increase the Sports Wagering Control Fund by for additional consulting assistance from GLI and RSM. We also increased the Public Health Trust Fund for the bet blocking procurement. In this quarterly update, we're recommending establishing 3 new positions, engaging a contractor or consultant for sports wagering research and policy, and revising the Gaming Control Fund assessment for gaming positions as of January 1, 2025. We did have 2x2s with the commission, so we will go over these positions rather quickly. The first position we're looking for is a new accountant in the MGC's finance division. Division's requesting this position to assist with the collection of over $500 million in revenue annually, as well as the processing of $72 million in expenses and the procurements that go along with all that. Currently, there are 8 FTs in the finance division. This would be adding 1, and the cost would be $25,000 for FY25, and we would recommend splitting that between the Gaming Control Fund and the Sports Wagering Control Fund. We're also looking to establish a technical compliance coordinator position in the Sports Wagering Division. Just to remind you a little bit of history, when we passed the first full year for the Sports Wagering Division's budget in FY24, the commission provided us with $750,000 to utilize and respond to in real time to things that came up. We used about $440,000 of that, and we are still finding things coming up that we would like to respond to in real time. This is one of those areas. This position is a technical compliance coordinator, and it would be responsible for liaising with the commission's gaming technology compliance group and have oversight related to GLI 33, technical regulations, coordinating teams and specialists for technical audits and testing. And it's it'd be mainly the sports wagerings division asset for helping out with the review of all things technical when it comes to sports wagering platforms. We are also asking for a EA, an executive assistant, to assist the commissioners. This request is coming from the executive director, not from the commission itself. This would be 1 additional support FTE to assist with travel, scheduling, public meeting material presentation, and many of the other day-to-day operations that are required to keep the commission's back office functions running. The cost of this for FY25 is $35,000, and once again, we'd be splitting this between the Sports Wagering Control Fund and the Gaming Control Fund. So those are the 3 FTEs. We can pause for any questions before we get on to the consultant contractor, or we can move right through.
Questions, commissioners? Commissioner O'Brien.
So, Derek, we talked about this, and forgive me, I've not had a chance to look through the written summary since we spoke. We had some conversation too about whether there was going to be an adjustment to the seasonal workers hourly because they haven't had it in a while. Is that part of this? Or is that
so
later?
That wouldn't be part of this. That would just be something that we're going to work through with Alex.
Okay.
Because it is within the budget. They do have the resources available, and it's just whether they want to do a similar 3% increase as what we did.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Commissioner Skinner.
Thank you. I just had a comment. I am supportive of what's being proposed here in terms of staffing, really all of it. But I did wonder whether the commission in the very near future should be conducting a comprehensive staffing needs assessment so that We are planning, being more proactive in terms of what the outlook is for staff, as opposed to the piecemeal adding staff over the course of the fiscal years that we've been doing actually for the past several years. So just a comment and observation, and I'm not catching our executive director off guard because I did share my desires with him last week after the 2x2.
That's right, Commissioner Skinner. We did speak about that, and I think that makes perfect sense. I think, believe it or not, also I'm coming up on a 1-year anniversary, and I've had an opportunity to, see and experience the agency, and it seems like that is a perfect time to take a spyglass to what's going on individually, maybe come up with some metrics to show what's happening day to day, month to month, and then compare that to our FTE count now and historically. So I'll start that along with Derek right away for sure.
Thank you. And I'm sorry about clearing my throat. That was not an emphasis. That was a true throat clearing there. Anyone else? I'm supportive also and understand that these things come up, and one of the positions I even think have been slated for a while and just hadn't moved forward. Commissioner Skinner and I learned. So all right, I think it's March. You can continue to move on to the contractor, I think.
Thank you. Then we're also looking to reallocate some FY25 budget funds from the sports wagering line item that is pinned for RSM and the vendor review. We're a little bit behind on that, to move it over to the sports wagering division for a contractor or consultant to investigate future trends in the sports wagering space. This would be more of a policy/research contractor, and they would be looking at things that have the commission has been asking questions on, as well as the sports wagering division. They're all in the memo, but just for a high level: advertising, know your customer, AI in sports wagering, the negative bets issues, multi-factor authorization, and there are 3 or 4 other items in there that, we're hoping that a 12-month contract will get us through most of these hurdles. And that's the reason we're not looking for an FTE, because we just don't know what the demand will still be for these types of research items in the long term. And that would be about 51,000, because we would go out to procure that for the year. So that would go quicker than a hiring process for the other 2. So we're looking about 1/3 of the year cost versus 1/4 as we did for the FTEs. One other item that we do every year around mid-year is we're revising the assessment based on the gaming positions that are active at each casino as of January 1, 2025. That information is available in your packet. It's all the charts that start on page 34, and it shows that, at the beginning of the year, we had MGM taking on 28.19% of the assessment, Encore taking on 57.67%, and PPC taking on 14.14%. For the second half of the year, we have MGM dropping down slightly to 27.84%, and Encore moving up slightly to 58.07%, and PPC moving down slightly to 14.09%. Not huge shifts around, but it is a good thing, as we're seeing a positive trend in gaming positions. Total gaming positions in Massachusetts was 6,896. as of July 1, and they've moved up to 6,926 as of January 1. So it's just moving them around a little bit, but it is a positive increase in the number of seats that people have to play games at the facilities. And with that, just looking for an approval.
Thank you, Derek. Anything else for Derek before we do have this marked up for a vote? Do we have a motion?
I move that the commission approve the requests for changes in the gaming control fund and the sports wagering control fund as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes, 5-0. Anything else from us, Derek?
Just one more update on page 42 of the public packet, and I don't know if you want me to share my screen. I can do that very quickly.
Yep.
We included, there was a discussion as we were looking at procurement thresholds. There was a discussion about what level the commission want to see. I think we settled into any contracts that are going to spend over $250,000 in the fiscal year. So we have come up with a list of those, and this is what we would plan to present to you with the budget each year. And it shows the initial duration, a brief description of what the contract is, who our vendor is, and then the contract start date, end date, whether there are options to renew, total contract value, and what we plan on spending in FY25. We would hope to be doing this each year for FY26. So if there's anything that is coming up with an expiration, you'd be able to get advice from us on whether you want to move forward with it, whether you want to assign a few commissioners to that procurement. And this is our first stab at it. We don't want you to see it the first time, and you don't have to make an answer on it today, but you can get your comments back to us, and we can make sure that with FY26 budget, we get you the information you're looking for in a format that's helpful.
All right, commissioners. So if you can take that down, Derek, so I can see
Yes.
everyone. Thank you. We did ask for that, and so Derek's always quick with the follow-up. So thank you for that. Any questions at this point, understanding that this isn't the last time we're going to look at it? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Chief Lennon.
Thank you.
And appreciation to Doug and John and everyone on your team, Jacqueline, everyone who helps.
Well, they all make me look good, as well as all the directors who give me all the information so I can come up and bring the requests as well as the solutions. It's really a good team to work with.
And I will point out, we're always happy to give the operators some of their money back when we don't have to use it all. So
Yes.
thank you for that. It's rare I have them all on to say that in front of them. So, all right. With that, we are going to go to legal under item 5. By the way, I saw North pop up and smile, just for the record. So yeah, he's glad to get some money back. All right. So with that, Councilor Grossman.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For this item, we're going to turn it right over to Associate General Counsel Ying Wang, who has prepared this matter for presentation. Good morning, Ying.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. The Legal Division is bringing 2 proposed versions of the same regulation amendment before you today for 205 CMR 247.03, petition for a sporting event or wager category. This regulation amendment was at the request of the Commission to clarify the Commissioner's ability to authorize or revoke their authorization of sporting events or wager categories to or from the catalog in their own discretion. And this topic has come up in previous public meetings, and this is really intended to give this group of Commissioners an opportunity to discuss again. To frame the discussion, we have a more high-level version of the regulation amendment starting at page 44 of your packet, which offers more discretion, and then a more specific version starting at page 47 that delineates steps similar to what sports wagering operators have to do to petition for a new sporting event or wager category. And it should be noted that these are only 2 options out of many options. If the commission is so inclined, they may vote to approve the high-level version or the specific version today to begin the promulgation process in the normal course. The commission may also decide that they would like the legal division to draft a hybrid version of the 2 if needed, which we can do. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I can also walk you through the 2 versions if that would be helpful.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I do have a question, but I would like to hear the 2 options first.
And I saw Commissioner O'Brien say the same thing.
Okay.
So, all right.
So I'm happy to share my screen and show you. So on the left-hand side, this is the more high-level version 1. And then on the right-hand side is version 2, which is a little bit more detailed and focuses on process.
So, commissioners, did we have an opportunity to look over these? I spent some time with Ying on this. Any specific questions?
So I would just ask, Yin, can you just go over in particular what's added in terms of process in the version that's more detailed?
Sure. So on the right-hand side, here it breaks down by authorizing sporting event or wager category under A, and then B is revoking authorization of sporting event or wager category. So in 9A, it says in its sole discretion, the commission may authorize sporting events and wager categories. In making that decision, the commission shall consider the criteria listed in 205 CMR 247.034 in its determination. And this is the same criteria that we subject sports wagering operators to, 247.034 up here. So it's highlighted here. And then further down in subsection 1, in order to authorize a sporting event or wager category, the commission must petition for approval of the sporting event or wager category in accordance with 205 CMR 247.03 section 3. So this is similar to what the sports wagering operators do in terms of filling out a form and then submitting it to the sports wagering division. And then subsection 2, reasonable notice shall be provided to the sports wagering operators and interested parties to provide comments on any authorizations that the commission decides in its discretion. Any questions about that piece?
So my only question, and Brad, I don't want to cut you off because I know you already flagged you had one. So I'll wait till Brad asks his and then I can ask mine.
No, go ahead.
Well, can I ask this? Do we want to take this down to see each other or do we want to leave it up?
Yeah.
It's up to you guys. Let's take it down for a second. I want to see everyone.
Go ahead, Commissioner O'Brien.
So, Ying, I know we had conversations about process right after the Super Bowl coin toss, right? In terms of, that I liked the version that basically said we have to do the same form, right? So sports wagering, we have the same information. And if sports wagering, if carrier, somebody's on here too, the conundrum, of course, is who's going to go fill in the information. It kind of puts it on sports wagering to fill it out because we as commissioners are not necessarily going to have all the information that the operators would have. So I'd be curious to hear the conversation. We as a commissioner might fill out some of it, hand it over to sports wagering, and then they're going to have to sort of finish. So I'd love to have that conversation, how that would work.
Good morning, everyone. I think that's right. I don't know that there's another way that would happen. I think that sports wagering would have to take on that task and fill out the forms if it were a petition from the commission.
And you feel like reaching out to operators or U.S. Integrity, et cetera, you guys would be able to do that for us?
I think so. Of course, we'd have to sort of, as we had the first one, see how it goes, but we do have contacts in all of the necessary places. So we could, of course, do that.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill?
So here's my question to legal or to my fellow commissioners. About a year or two ago, we as a commission took sports out of the catalog. We didn't have to go through any process. So what is the difference between taking out a sport and putting one in? I need to understand what the difference is. Because we did take out sports about a year or two ago, and there were no issues, and it was the right thing to do, by the way. But now that we want to put sports, a sport
Okay.
into the catalog, now there's an issue. So please help me understand what the difference is between taking out and putting in under our current regulations.
Yes, so are you referring to 9B, Commissioner Hill, and why we're adding language now about revoking authorization? So make sure I'm understanding.
About a year or two ago, the commission voted to take any sports related to Belarus, I believe it was, Russian sports, and there were no issues. It was a commissioner that brought that forward, I believe. And we all agreed, yep, we need to do this. There was nothing that stopped us from doing it, because as I still feel, our current regulations allow us to do that. It also allows us to put them in. So please help me understand why we were able to do that, and there was really no issue. But then when a commissioner wants to add something, there's now an issue.
So Commissioner Hill, the authority for commissioners to revoke or suspend has been in this regulation for quite some time. However, the ability to add them was not explicitly stated. And so that's why it came to legal to clarify that within 9. So that part about revoking or suspending events has always been there. It's just that this language adds more clarity about the commission action without a request from a sports wager.
Please excuse my ignorance. Is that in writing or is that presumed?
It's in writing, and it's in 205 CMR 243.08.
So with that said, I am for giving us the ability, without going through an entire process of making our sports wagering folks have to put in all the work that would have to go in if this was a operator, in our regulations, to clarify that we can ask for a sporting event to be put into the catalog. So if you're asking for opinions, Mr. Chairman, the first option would be something that I would be okay with. I still feel, under the discussion that we had last week, that we don't need to be doing this, that anybody can do it as of today. But to clarify it, I think the first option would be satisfactory, at least to me, without doing anything, because I really feel we don't have to do anything at this point.
So
That's
thank
the person's opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. I'm going to go in order of mics off because everyone's mics off right now. I'm going to go with Commissioner Broder, then Commissioner Skinner, then Commissioner O'Brien. That's how the mute buttons went. So.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. So it is my understanding, based on our 2x2, that legal fees, we do currently have this authority. Is that correct?
Yes, it's legal's assessment that the commission has the inherent authority within Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 23N, and we didn't find anything that restricted our authority to do that.
So I guess where I'm at, I'm not sure there's a huge need to do anything. Kind of reflecting on Commissioner Hill's comments a bit. I do think what we have right now is the ability of any commissioner essentially to say to the commission, to our colleagues, in this case, I think we need X, Y, and Z, but we would maintain the flexibility that we currently have per Commissioner Hill's comments. I'd be comfortable voting with number 1, but I'm also comfortable doing nothing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder. Commissioner Skinner.
So this discussion for me centers on 2 questions. The first one is, should the commission have the ability to authorize sui sponte events for the catalog? My answer to that is unequivocally yes, because as the regulator, we should absolutely exercise any inherent authority we have, so long it is within the agency's mission and so long as we're complying with the applicable laws and regulations. So that's number one. The second question is, should the commission hold itself to a lower standard for ensuring the integrity of these events, which is effectively the result when we don't have any identified standard of review of these types of requests? To that question, I say no, because that to me is a do as I say, not as I do approach to get to yes. That basically undermines, in my opinion, the perceived integrity of this body. Now, that's not to say that I don't trust that my fellow commissioners will exercise some level of due diligence and integrity review before bringing a request forward. But the danger is that what that looks like isn't clear. It's not clearly defined if we go with the first option, as it is for the operators, which, by the way, we were very intentional about prescribing. At one point, there was even a discussion as to who could advance these events. Was it any person, or did we limit it to operators? And I think we actually took any person away and we limited it to the operators. Don't quote me on that, but I do recall there was some extensive discussion. I took a look at the petition form in preparation for this meeting, and a couple of specific examples of concerns about the way we are attempting to go about this are, contacting the sports governing body for comment or to be heard on any impact. The suggestion is that commissioners or, through our sports wagering division are exempt from that, or it's less important to hear from the sports governing body when a commissioner is advancing event. Operator house rules, how do we ensure they are in place prior to the offering? And not to relitigate the coin toss matter that we decided last week. But that being approved, will we be seeing the operator's house rules after the fact? The rules of the sporting event or wager category. Last year, there was mention of other jurisdictions who offered this event imposing a cutoff time for accepting wagers. That wasn't spoken to at all for this year's offering. And just generally, what don't we know about why no operator came forward to ask for the offering for the second year in a row? I just, I don't think it's unreasonable to put some parameters on ourselves here. And if we can't come to some consensus around going beyond the specific option, because I'm not in favor of just keeping it as is or having it be so, having our responsibilities as commissioners be lessened. I'd like to see us get to some middle of the road option, because I think we have to hold ourselves accountable in that way. That's where I am. Again, hopefully we can get to some hybrid model. If we can't, it's putting our sports wagering division on the spot in this meeting, kind of trying to understand what burden we would be placing on them. I think that is worth further consideration by our sports wagering division officer, sports wagering division, because I agree, Commissioner O'Brien, it is going to be a difficult task for a commissioner to complete that form and go through all of the steps that are required in order to submit it. So in conjunction with our sports wagering team, taking a look at this and really assessing what the responsibility would be that would fall on them. I'd also like our legal division perhaps to take this back so that we can come to some middle ground here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Commissioner O'Brien?
So I'm with Commissioner Skinner up until the point where I do feel like we have the solution, which is option B. I think we're all in agreement, and legal's in agreement, that we inherently, via the statutes and the reg, have the authority. The conundrum is process, and process matters. And for everything that Commissioner Skinner said, she's right. We shouldn't have a lesser standard for us than we put on the operators, and we try not to do that anywhere. There's also just the practicality of the information necessary for all of us to make an informed decision and vote. And the example of the coin toss, in addition to what Commissioner Skinner pointed out in terms of we would want to see the House rules, everything we would want to see under other circumstances, we were in the position of not having that information in a consistent format in front of us. And it would vary depending on who had time or ability to reach out. I am for option B. Nothing in doing either of these negates our authority in the past or going forward. What it does do is give clear process. My only hesitation, and I think it was cleared up by Carrie, was, is that overly burdensome or impossible for sports wagering to execute? The answer is no. We've only asked to do this once or twice, actually once, to add something. And Commissioner Hill, you may have said we did it one other time or sought to, but this is not something that happens with frequency. But process does matter. And if we don't require the same information be submitted in advance to be reviewed and then put in front of the 5 of us, I think we're courting danger. And I just don't think that's a wise move. So for me, I would be in favor of doing the more detailed version that has the consistency and form, and the same information comes in front of us.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. I would like to speak for just a second now. If we go back in the record, I wasn't a fan of the form to begin with. I thought it was somewhat overly cumbersome to the operators. I think to the point that's been raised to me about why didn't the operators bring this forward, I think the answer, after seeing that they did offer this within hours of Commissioner Hill's motion on the coin toss, shows quite the opposite. It shows that they're just not willing to go through this level of scrutiny every time they want to add something to the catalog. And I don't blame them. I probably would be in the same shoes as them. As far as the commissioner thing go, I'm a commissioner. I've been tasked with the legislation to make certain decisions. I'm comfortable making those decisions. I'm comfortable in the due diligence that myself and my colleagues will do to make those decisions, because they so rarely do come. I seek out the same information that's essentially on those forms with our team already, including looking at how many weighted coins are sorted through before the Super Bowl. I'm comfortable in my ability to make this decision. I think I've been charged with it. I asked Ying a question during my sit down with her, which was, do any other jurisdictions do this? She said, no other jurisdiction does anything like this, limits themselves in this way. I respect process in making decision. I think process for process sake is, it's a different composition for me. It's just, I come at it in a different way. It's not that I disrespect what my fellow commissioners are saying who think differently than me, but I think different. I think that we're here to make sure that it's safe, that nothing negative's going on, and that this body can take votes to do that and get the information to do that without a paper being filled out. So I'm not going to limit myself, and I am a commissioner, right? I mean, if we are going to stick, I would go quite the opposite. I would say, why don't we revisit the form and see if we can make that formula less cumbersome for the operators? But if we're not going to do that, what I would say is that I do have a right as a commissioner to make this decision. And if any of the operators would like to go join the commission, that's a possibility for them to do so. So that's kind of where I am. I would actually go the opposite way. I would make it a little easier. And by the way, we sua sponte added the entire catalog to begin with. So it's obvious that it was in our inherent authority, or we wouldn't have done it. So I just don't want to limit myself. I would actually say I would do nothing. I would leave it as is today. But I hear my fellow commissioners saying 1 or 2 may be the option. Commissioner O'Brien, I see your mic's off.
Yeah, I mean, I take issue with the speculation as to why they didn't come forward. I think there's nothing, absolutely nothing in front of us that says that form is overly cumbersome. There are reasons we did the form, in fact, for continuity. In fact, because some of them went out and came in front of us and said, please add something like the BAA Boston Marathon, and the marathon didn't want to be in there, et cetera. And we all thought that that was important. So if we want to do a refresh or go back and look every couple of years at the form, I think that's appropriate. Nothing in what is being proposed today in any way limits our authority. So I just want to clarify that, because some of the comments you made implied that adopting one or two would do that. That's not the case at all. It's more what's going to be the continuity of information in front of us at any given moment. And I think what Commissioner Skinner said and what I said speak to that. This is not process for process sake. This is process for continuity and decision making. We're not hampering ourselves. I've never been afraid of the fact that we're the only jurisdiction doing something. That doesn't really carry a lot of water with me if I think it's the right thing to do. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of those points.
I hear you, and I will say that the speculation, I would just say the counter argument is the speculation the operators not bringing or bringing shouldn't be weighed at all. Then if we're not going to weigh it one way, let's not weigh it the other way either. Thank you. And I just don't think I should have to fill out a form for my colleagues to judge whether or not I've got the information right. I don't think that's my obligation under the statute, and I don't want to put it as an obligation on myself under the regs, and that's just where I'm coming from. Commissioner Skinner?
I too would like to clarify a couple of points. For me, this is not process just for process sake. This is process to ensure that integrity is upheld at all levels, including at this level, at the commission's level, commissioner's level. So I want to make that very clear. I did state in our prior conversation that I am a process person, and that remains to be true. But again, that's not what this is about. Again, this is about holding ourselves to the same standard that we're holding the operators that we regulate, if not a higher standard. That is important to me in exercising my duty under the statute as a commissioner. Secondly, we did not sua sponte add catalogs to the, events to the catalog upon the launch of sports wagering. All of those events were driven by the operators who indicated that we actually asked that they submit to this commission the events that they are interested in offering, and we reviewed them in that context. There was not a single commissioner that brought an event forward in connection with that initial launch process.
I will go into the category 1 versus category 3 versus how many offered each one and how often I looked at different catalogs from different jurisdictions. What I will say is that there were parts of that catalog that were definitely added sua sponte because I remember reviewing them. To your point, they were consulted across the board. I agree with that 100%. Commissioner Broder, can we land this plane, by the way?
What's that?
Today? Are we planning on landing this plane today or no, or what's the plan?
I don't know. I think we're almost out of gas on what we can productively discuss today, but that's obviously just one person's opinion. I'm thinking about the process, and I don't think anyone is against process. I think what we're talking about is trying to calibrate process to an appropriate level, right? And when the theoretical kind of clashes with the practical, sometimes it makes for some awkward conversations. It's not about the coin flip, but this is why we're talking about it. And my sense is, from a practical point of view, in the context of the coin flip, a very simple wager that it is pretty easy to kind of get a handle on and make a decision about, and the amount of process that option 2 would require to get to listing or not listing the coin flip is doesn't serve any useful purpose, in my opinion, in that particular context. With a new sport coming aboard, a whole new sport, I'll use a lousy example, but it's the first one that popped in my head of slap fighting. Slap fighting is a sport. I think we all kind of have a significant distaste for it. I'm not positive about that. But if we were to bring that on board, however unlikely that may be, we would want a lot more information because, speaking for myself, I don't know how it's judged. I don't know how contestants actually enter. I don't know what the safety protocols are or any of that jazz. So I would certainly, if a commissioner tried to bring that forward, would insist as a commissioner on a lot more information, and perhaps even make a motion that says, before I consider this, I would want all that information, because that's the level of scrutiny I would want in this particular situation, where in a different situation, I do want to preserve my ability and the commission's ability to make a efficient decision based on what we can all reasonably understand. I don't know if that's helpful. I don't know if it will help us move on, but that's my thinking.
I sign off on that too. That same level of thinking. I would ask for additional information if I needed it, for sure. Commissioner O'Brien?
So yeah, first, Commissioner Broder, we rejected slap fighting. We went through a lot of that. It's already come in front of us, and for a lot of the reasons you said, we said no. But your comment too, and the chair's comments about I would want information, et cetera. All the other reason for this process is efficiency. If what you're going to get is, well, I want this and I want that, now you're going to mark it up for multiple hearings to then go do it. If everybody has the same expectations for minimum standards, it actually speaks to efficiency in adjudicating these. So for me, that's just another reason to put process out there. I'm still in the same camp I was in, all the more so.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hill.
I'm going to make a motion, and if somebody wants to second it, great. And if not, then we will continue this discussion apparently on another day. If
That makes sense.
you're okay with me doing that?
That makes sense.
I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 247.03 included in the commissioner's packet at pages 44 through 46 and discussed here today, and further that staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process. And for those in public, this would be option number 1.
I will second.
Thank you. There's a motion, there's a second, so we will do a roll call. Commissioner O'Brien?
Nay, for the reasons I stated, I would have gone with B.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner?
Nay, for the reasons I stated, I would have gone with option B. And I would have also been open to a hybrid option.
Thank you. Commissioner Broder?
That's a close call for me, but I'm an aye.
And I'm an aye, so 3-2. All right, so we did add some language in there. We didn't keep it as is. And I know that we will do our due diligence before we add anything to the catalog. And thank you to legal and Ying for walking us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, commissioners.
Anything else, Councilor Grossman?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to be clear, that's just the first step in the promulgation process. This will be coming back before you after the public process.
There's opportunity for comment. I should point that out.
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's move on. Sorry, I'm on 2 different screens here today. We're going to move to the Community Affairs Division, and for that, we're going to go to Chief Delaney. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. So today we've got for you quarterly reports from 2 of our licensees, as well as presentations on their capital expense plans. First up, we have Encore Boston Harbor. To give us their quarterly report and ILEV update. We have Juliana Catanzariti and Tom Coffey. And after they do that presentation, we'll go into an executive session to discuss the capital expenditure plan. So with that, I'll turn it over to Juliana and Tom.
Sure. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. It's nice to see you all. I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Perfect. We appreciate your time this morning, and in consideration of what I know is your robust agenda, I will try not to make this super long. So to begin, we will take a look at our gaming revenue, taxes, and lottery sales. For Q4, we had a gross gaming revenue for slots of about $107 million, about 79 for table games, and a total gross gaming revenue of about $185 million. This resulted in about $46 million in state taxes being collected. And here is our year-over-year comparison. For sports wagering, we had a monthly win of about $581,000 for Q4, and this resulted in about $82,000 in state taxes being collected. Here we have our Q4 lottery sales. They came in around $986,000. And here again is the year-over-year comparison for lottery sales. Moving on to workforce. At the end of Q4, we had a total of 3,429 employees. 74% identified as a minority, 2% as veteran, and 45% as women. And here we have the same breakdown for supervisory and above employees. As for operating spend, during Q4, we had a discretionary spend amount of about $17 million. As you can see, 2.3 was spent with minority business enterprises, about $18,000 with veterans business enterprises, and about $2.5 million with women's business enterprises. And here again, we have a year-over-year comparison. And here is the breakdown of local spend, which remains relatively steady. And again, a year-over-year comparison for the local spend. And here we have the breakdown for Massachusetts in particular. So now I will turn it over to Tom Coffey, our Executive Director of Security and Investigations, to discuss minors on the gaming floor. Did someone have a question that I missed? I'm sorry. Tom?
Good morning, Chairman Maynard and Commissioners. Thank you. So I did want to, before we get started, that total number on the left-hand column should be 8. A review last Friday I did uncovered a additional underage on the floor back in November, and I can talk about that because that unfortunately was the person who was on the floor the longest. So we had in October we had one underage on the floor. And again, we had someone go through an emergency exit. November, no gaming, no alcohol. November we had fake ID, a couple incidents where parents were involved, and typically we'll trespass the parents if they were involved in the incident or furthered the incident. In December, we had, again, we had 4 on the floor. November was 3, December was 4 to make 8. And again, there was one incident of gaming, and the incident that's not on there was a young lady with a fake ID that was on the floor for 4 hours and 8 minutes. That was November 16th of 24. She consumed 1 alcoholic beverage and did not game. So we had 1 gaming and 1 consuming an alcoholic beverage. A couple incidents with parents, and then the door up at high limits again. We had 1 or 2 people go through that. So for the Black Tier Lounge.
So, Tom, can I ask you a question about the one that you caught in November
Yes.
with the longest time period? Was that sent through the Veridex system? Was it someone else's ID, or was it a fake ID that didn't go through the system?
It was someone else's ID that made it through the system. And just so you know, she was found sitting on the floor, just almost bored when I was reading the report. And then one of our investigators and managers approached her and inquired and made some questions to her. That's how she was found.
Okay. And how old was she?
She was 17.
17. Okay. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Any other questions for Tom?
Thank you, Tom. As for our people and culture initiatives during Q4, we had a multitude of employee wellness offerings, including an on-site vaccine clinic, on-site eye exams, and on-site wellness screenings that resulted in a reduction in insurance premiums. We also had a benefits fair where several providers were available for questions and information for employees. We celebrated fall with our annual pumpkin contest and our first annual pet costume contest, which, as expected, was a huge hit. The tiny parrot dog was a fan favorite, and I think that's also a small ferret with bat wings. So we had quite a few animals that got admitted. In October, the Lower Mystic Transportation Management Association was once again on site for complimentary bike tune-ups. We also continued with our Foundations of Leadership course that facilitated 39 leaders engaged in continuing their leadership and development skills. We continued training on managing in a union environment. We hosted 2 separate offerings to help prepare leaders to better coach, train, and manage our union team members. Our Conversations with Leaders group in October featured 2 of our own culinary leaders, Chef Jimmy Johnson and Chef Megan Bond, who answered questions about leadership, their love of food and cooking, and many other topics. Kate Bueller was also back to offer service and sales trainings to various different departments. In November, we also celebrated Veterans Day by displaying photos of our active military and veteran team members who wish to participate, and through a fallen comrade table in the staff cafe. Additionally, we celebrated World Kindness Day by displaying the words of kindness of our team members on our heart of house areas. In November, we launched Win University to highlight some new employee offerings, including complimentary access for all employees to LinkedIn Learning, Masterclass, and what is I've learned pronounced as Ruby, which is essentially an online culinary school. These are all offered free of charge to all of our employees who are interested in taking advantage of those. We also celebrated the holiday season with our annual gingerbread contest and an employee gift giveaway. Each employee received a 3-piece branded winter jacket and a satin bag. And in December, we relaunched The Wire, which is our internal employee portal. A lot of changes were made to make the site more interactive, more user-friendly, and generally easier for all of our team members to use. Finally, for some promotions, marketing, and special events, a highlight. Here are TRU contributions for Q4. Animal Rescue League continues to lead our donations with nearly 63,000 tickets donated, which totaled about $14,000 in donations. And just generally speaking, during Q4, our team members volunteered 4,379 hours of their time to local organizations. We completed the final series of 2024's Feed the Funnel. We packed well over 500,000 meals in 3 days, bringing our yearly total to over 1 million meals donated to the community. We also turned the library of an Everett Elementary School into Winter Wonderland, where team members handed out pajamas, cookies, and books to more than 800 students. I happened to be able to attend one of these events, and it was really the highlight of the year. The kids were so excited. Everyone had holiday spirit, so it was really great to be able to do that for the community. And if there are any questions, happy to answer.
Thank you, Juliana. Commissioners, questions? For our friends at Encore Boston Harbor.
Mr. Chairman, quick question.
Commissioner Broder.
Love to see the piece about your presence in the Everett schools. How did that come about, and how did that particular classroom, get chosen?
We've been doing it for a few years now in sort of different ways. So we actually work with the school system. Our team our community relations team worked directly with the school system to choose a school, essentially. So with their input, that was the one that we decided to work with.
Awesome. That's a good program.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder. Commissioner Skinner.
Not a question, but really a comment. Congratulations to Encore on its Forbes 5-star award. I expected you to lead with that, but I guess that's more for Q1.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It was announced recently that we received our Forbes 5-star honor for 2020 through 2025. So we are all very excited, and honestly, it's of course our team that makes that happen for us. So we're very proud of everybody here that allowed us to continue.
Congratulations are in order indeed. Thank you, Commissioner Skinner, and thank you, Commissioner Broder. Any other questions before we move back to Chief Delaney? Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Tom. It's always good to see you both.
Thank you.
Okay, so Chair, I guess we're gonna go into the executive session now to talk about CapEx.
All right. So let me pull up this language. I've got it here. I'll read it into the record and then my fellow commissioners can decide whether we want to move in. The commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with General Law, Chapter 23K, 21A7, for the specific purpose of reviewing the proposed multi-year capital expenditure plan described in 205 CMR 139.09 and any corresponding materials submitted relative to Encore Boston Harbor, as discussion of this matter in public would frustrate the purpose of the statute and associated legal authorities where the capital expenditure plan at issue is covered by a non-disclosure agreement between the Massachusetts Gaming Commission and Encore Boston Harbor. The public session of the commission meeting will reconvene at the conclusion of this session. Would we like to enter into executive session for these purposes?
So move.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
aye.
and I vote yes, 5-0. So we will be, I believe, moved into executive session. Here it comes. Thank you. Okay, Connor, I think we are good to enter back in when you are. All right, giving everyone a second. All right. All right, Paul's back to Chief Delaney.
Okay, so next up, we have Plainridge Park Casino to give us their quarterly report. We've got North Groundsel with us, Heidi Yates Akbaba, Kathy Lucas, and of course, Lisa McKenney behind the scenes. And with that, I will turn it over to North.
Great. Thank you so much, Chief Delaney. Good morning, Chairman Maynard. Good morning, Commissioners. Plainridge Park is pleased to present our quarterly update for Q4 2024. As Chief Delaney mentioned, I'm joined today by Heidi Yates Akbaba, our VP of Finance, and Kathy Lucas, our Vice President of HR. And just to note that there will be some slides that are duplicated in the presentation. The first in the series represents the Q4 results, and the second in the series will show results for all of 2024. So with that, I'll hand it over to Heidi, who will discuss some of our financial metrics. Heidi?
Good morning. First off, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
We
I'm
can.
at a different location today, so I just wanted to be sure. So for Q4 of 2024, you can see that we had total net sports wagering revenue of 198,000 that netted 60,000 total in sports wagering taxes. I'd like to focus a little bit here on the total, where we had 2.2 in net sports wagering versus 2023, which was 3 million, and the difference in the gaming tax of 462 to 395 is a loss of 66,000 year over year, and that is specifically related to the decline in Q4 of 2024. On the gaming revenue side, so our Q4 we're very excited about, was a very good quarter for us. We netted 43,000 in net slot revenue, which generated 17 million in state taxes, 3.9 in the racehorse tax, for a total of 21 million, 0.3 in gaming total taxes for the quarter. The difference between 2023 and 2024 for the totals, the 76 million versus the 82.5, represents an additional 6.3 million in taxes for the Commonwealth for gaming taxes year over year. Our lottery sales. So you can see 2024 Q4, we had 600,000. In Q4 of 2023, we had 594. That is an increase of 6,000. Year over year, we are down 26,000. This is specifically related to Q3, when the lottery asked us to reduce inventory so they could put new games in play. So this is the first slide that North is referencing. And so this is the Q4 total qualified spend by state. And you can see that the total is 1.7 million for the quarter, of which 1.177 was spent in Massachusetts. And our full year, so full year qualified spend by state is $4 million. 2.5 million was spent in Massachusetts and 1.5 in all others. So of the 1.177 in total qualified spend that was spent in Massachusetts in Q4, 26,000 of that was spent in our host and surrounding communities. And for the full year, we spent 117,000 in our surrounding host and surrounding communities of the 2.5 million that was spent in qualified spend in the state of Massachusetts. So vendor diversity, and this is one I always get really excited about. So we did hit our goal for Q4, slightly under in women's spend, but exceeded in minority and veteran. And this is just the quarter. And then this is our full year representation. So you can see that we have well exceeded our goal of 21% at 35%, and all other areas exceeded the anticipated goals that we had in play. We're very proud of that number. And then this is just some numbers for the quarter. So you can see that the women's spend, minority and veteran were up in all areas over Q3 of 2024, and the qualified spend in its entirety was up 213,000 quarter over quarter.
Great. So moving on to compliance, there were a total of 173 people that were prevented from entering the gaming establishment in Q4. 16 of those were minors, 44 were underage, and 16 of those were minors, 44 were underage, and 113 had expired, invalid, or no ID. There were 3 underage persons escorted from the gaming area and 1 instance of an underage person found gaming. There were no instances of underage sports wagering or alcohol service during the quarter. I'll pass it to Kathy, and she'll cover some of our employment and community relations efforts. Kathy?
Thank you, and good morning, commissioners. During Q4, we employed 462 team members, which was slightly higher than Q3. We continue to exceed our diversity score or goal of 15% in Q4, with 32% of our team members being diverse. We exceeded our veterans goal of 2%, with 5% of our team members as veterans, which is consistent with last quarter. We also were slightly under in women and also in local, with 44% of our team members being women and 33% of our team members being local. You'll see there are, I'm sorry, go back north 1 second. Yeah, so our ratios for full-time and part-time, 63% versus 37%. Next slide now. Okay, so in the sports book, you'll see that we had 14 team members. Of those, 14% are identified as diverse, 36% women, 29 local, and 50% full-time. With our supervisors, we had on staff in Q4 79 team members that are supervisors and above. Of that, 19% diverse, 5% veterans, and 30% women. So in Q4, love to share some of the things that we did at the casino to focus on our team member and community engagement initiatives. You'll see here first with our PPC Cares development, we continue to invest in creating and recognizing our outstanding leaders. We acknowledged our ACEs of Penn Team Members of the Year. We also acknowledged the Q4 Penn winners. We acknowledge the Emerging Leaders Program graduates at our team member gala that was hosted by North. We also had a master class for our Penn women participants, and it was led by Ann Simmons, who is the Secretary of the Board for Global Gaming Women. She's an expert in strategic planning, HR, OD, talent management, and training. And then you'll also see us at the Massachusetts Conference for Women, which was held at the Seaport Convention Center. Next slide. Now, these are some of the events that we hosted for our team members to ensure their engagement. So you see all of the holiday activities, including Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving. We had dinner for our team members of the quarter. We also engaged our team members in the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we attended events at Gillette, and we also had plenty of activities on property for breast cancer awareness. Next slide. And our last slide, which is kind of overfilled and we had to actually leave some stuff off, is our commitment to our local community. And you'll see there that we supported the Old Colony Habitat for Humanity at their fundraiser. We had the HMEA holiday gifting. We had the American Cancer Society Men Wear Pink. We hosted an event on property for them. And then we also attended the American Cancer Society Making Strides walk in Boston. During the holidays, we had the Plainville Council on Aging for their holiday party, where Santa Claus came for a visit for them. For Veterans Day, we hosted an event with a couple of other organizations, and we actually had a few folks here in regards to giving out coats for our veterans. We actually honored our own veterans. On the slide, we left out Toys for Tots, but that's another event that we do annually. And our last picture there, or last two pictures, were us at the town of Mansfield, offering a contribution for the work that they do, and then Tri-Town Chamber of Commerce spending an afternoon for leadership training for women. So a lot of activities in the quarter for the community. I'll turn it back over to North.
Yep. Thank you, Kathy. So that concludes our update. We're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, North. Can we take down the slides for a second? Commissioners, anything to discuss? I will say, I know all of my fellow commissioners agree with this. The Massachusetts Gaming Commission puts a lot of emphasis on the work around diversity, and DE and I and Commissioner Skinner and I had an opportunity to talk about it last week. And, you know, we run the Gaming Commission in Massachusetts, and we're going to make sure that we hold ourselves to these high standards, no matter what's going on outside of these walls. So we appreciate PPC for hitting those. Anything before we potentially go into executive session? All right. You read some language in here. And publicly, I do want to thank North and Kathy and Heidi and all the team over there.
Thank you.
So the commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with General Law Chapter 23K, 21A7, for the specific purpose of reviewing the proposed multi-year capital expenditure plan described in 205 CMR 139.09 and any corresponding materials submitted relative to Plainridge Park Casino, as discussion of this matter in public would frustrate the purpose of the statute and associated legal authorities, where the capital expenditure plan at issue is covered by a non-disclosure agreement between the Massachusetts Gaming Commission and Plainridge Park Casino. The public session of the commission meeting will reconvene at the conclusion of the executive session. Would we like to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. All right, Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And I vote yes. 5-0.
So do I.
Oh, Commissioner Broder, I'm sorry. Old habits die hard, I have to tell you. I'm sorry. Commissioner Broder, I'll do it the right way.
Aye.
And then I vote yes, 5-0. All right, Connor, I think we can take the screen down, enter back in.
Okay, that is it with respect to community affairs.
Sounds good. All right. Commissioners, we just finished six.
Mr. Chairman, I could use a 5-minute break, please.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break. We will reconvene around 11:51-ish. Okay, Connor, I think we can take up the screen and start looking. All right, I think everyone is here. So we will reconvene this meeting. We're reconvening a meeting of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. We're holding this meeting virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good morning still, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I am here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
And good morning, Commissioner Broder.
Good morning.
All right. We're all here, so we will turn to item number 7. And for that, I will kick it over to Edie Serpa.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
No problem. I'll kick it over to Edie Serpa.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So let's see. Yep. This next agenda item, as you know, we are meeting again to further discuss the collective bargaining agreement currently in negotiations between the commission and the SEI Local 888. And I think due to the nature of these negotiations, this discussion should take place in executive session for the reasons outlined on the agenda. If you have any questions for the public session, we could take them now. The team is on the call. Otherwise, I would turn it back to the chair to see if you also would like to go into executive session.
Thank you, Edie Serpa. Anything for now, commissioners? All right, I'm going to read this into the record and we can decide whether to go into executive session. The commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining of the SEIU Local 888 agreement, as discussion at an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the commission. Would we like to enter in?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner,
Aye.
and Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we will enter into that room. All right, Connor, I think we're entering back in. All right, we have everyone. So for the purposes of the public, we're just reiterating, and we never left the meeting into public session, where we just finished item number 7. And so with that, I would turn it to item number 8. And I want to say thank you to everyone on the team on item number 7. But on item number 8, I believe we're going to turn it over to the Chief of Investigations and Enforcement Bureau.
Hello, good afternoon. The first item relates to the renewal, or sorry, the temporary category 3 sports wagering operator requests for leave to renew. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to the Chief of our licensing division, Kara O'Brien.
Thank you, Caitlin. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Today we have the requests for leave to renew the temporary category 3 sports wagering licenses. The memo begins on page 107 of your packet. But in short, this is the first step of the temporary renewal process in which our operators request leave from the commission to request that renewed license. All licensees submitted a timely renewal accompanied by their $10,000 application fee as required by 205 CMR 219. The applications have been deemed complete, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Commissioners, questions for Director O'Brien? All right. Do we have a motion? I believe we're going to have to move on this.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the
Commissioner
commission approve the temporary sports wagering operator license renewal request pursuant to 205 CMR 219 for the following operators as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today. 1, Bally's Interactive LLC, Bally Bet. Betfair Interactive LLC, which is FanDuel. BetGMC LLC, which is BetMGM. Crown Mass Gaming LLC, which is DraftKings. FBG Enterprises OpCo LLC, which is Fanatics. And Penn Sports Interactive LLC, which is ESPN Bet.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Broder.
Aye.
And I vote yes, 5-0. Thank you so much, Kara, for joining us and presenting that. I am now going to actually, if you don't mind, Caitlin, step out. I do, as well as Director Vanderlinden and my fellow commissioners, but I am going to attend to some private matters. I would ask for Commissioner Skinner to chair the remainder of the meeting, and I will catch up on it and watch the video and call the questions. So with that, I'm going to leave the meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Skinner, for agreeing to do this, and I will see everyone later.
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you. Continuing on then with our IEB Chief, Caitlin Monahan.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Next up, we have 2 non-compliance matters, sports wagering related non-compliance matters for the Commissioner's review and decision on next steps. And Deandra Franks, our enforcement counsel, is going to be handling both of them. So I'll turn this over to her.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. This alleged non-compliance incident involves temporary Category 3 sports wagering licensee BetMGM LLC and implicates 205 CMR 247.012I and the sports wagering catalog. that MGM offered wagering on a prohibited Russian athlete, UFC fighter Peter Yan, for his fight scheduled on November 23rd, 2024. This noncompliance lasted from November 17th, 2024 through November 18th, 2024. And during that time frame, BetMGM accepted 35 wagers for a total stake of about $850. At this point, I'm happy to take any questions, and I'd ask the commission its preference for next steps as to how to handle this noncompliance. And just as a reminder, the options are to refer it back to the IEB, set it up for an adjudicatory hearing, or issue a civil administrative penalty under Chapter 23N, Section 16.
Thank you, counsel. All right, commissioners, what do we think?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Hill.
I think we can send this back to IEB.
Agreed.
Yep, same.
All right, I also agree. And so that one is all set. That is item 8B. Moving on to, actually, counsel, you're all set with that, right? It's clear what we're asking you to do. Perfect.
Yes.
We're sticking with you, it looks like, for item 8C.
Great. So this alleged noncompliance matter involves temporary Category 3 sports wagering licensee, BetMGM LLC, and implicates General Law, Chapter 23N, Section 3, 205 CMR 247.01 2A1, and the sports wagering catalog. BetMGM offered a player proposition wager for UNLV player Ricky White's over/under receiving yards total in the UNLV versus Oregon State NCAA football game, which was scheduled for October 19th, 2024. There was one wager placed for a total stake of $10 during the game. And at this point, I'm happy to take any questions, and I'd again ask the commission its preference for next steps as to how to handle this noncompliance.
Thank you, counsel. Commissioner Brody, your mic's off. Do you have any questions or?
Nope,
comments?
that's a mistake.
Any question from any other commissioner? No? Okay. So how do we want to proceed with this matter? I will say I'm also okay with sending this back to the IEB for additional investigation. CEC Kramer, I see your mic's off. Do you have anything to add here?
Thanks, Commissioner Skinner. I just wanted to add, I know sometimes the commission likes to know how they've treated some of these types of matters in the past. And there was an initial college player prop matter that came in with BetMGM, and the commission elected to have an adjudicatory hearing on that. That had kind of morphed into a bigger hearing because there was an audit that happened. So that ended up being a bigger investigation that the IEB is currently working on, and I expect to come to the commission at some point in the next few months. Since that initial one, there have been a few other player props involving college players that have come in, and those have been referred back to the IEB, but with the guidance of wait to see what happens at the adjudicatory hearing and the penalty that's assessed, so that the IEB gets an understanding of where the commission stands on this particular issue. So just wanted to offer that for context, that we have a few in our queue of this type of violation that will follow the BetMGM matter for us to handle.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I do think it's important that we try to stay consistent. I'm still okay, and I understand there was a condition included in how we reviewed some of the other ones, but I would still be okay with sending these back, especially given the low stake that is involved. So, Commissioner O'Brien.
So I would send this back with the same caveat we've sent the others back to them, which is I want to see what the big picture audit is, and then that would give context to IEB coming up with a civil administrative penalty.
I think that makes perfect sense. Commissioner Hill is okay with that. Commissioner Brody, you're good? All right. Thank you, CEC Kramer and Attorney Franks. Do you have what you need from the commission? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to Director Monahan. That concludes your items for this agenda, right?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 9. We are going to turn to Director Vanderlinden. Good afternoon, Director
Good
Gander.
afternoon, Commissioner Skinner and other commissioners. I have a report for you. It's a summary of key findings and recommendations from the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. It says on this report, FY24 research agenda. However, I realized as I was preparing for this presentation, it's not necessarily from the FY24 research agenda, but rather it's deliverables or reports that were submitted during FY24. So with your permission, I'd like to change the title of this report to more accurately reflect what is contained in it. So both the Expanded Gaming Act, Chapter 23K, Section 71, and extending to Chapter 23N, the Act to Regulate Sports Wagering, carry a heavy responsibility for the Gaming Commission to carry out an annual research agenda to examine the social and economic effects of expanded gambling and obtain scientific information relative to neuroscience, psychology, sociology, epidemiology, and etiology of gambling. In order to organize this expansive and ongoing research mandate, a strategic plan was created that organized it into 7 key focus areas of research. And those include economic impact, social impact, community engaged research, public safety, responsible gaming evaluations, the Massachusetts Gambling Impact Cohort, and data sharing. You'll notice that these focus areas were used to organize the framework for the brief being shared with you today. The Commission a few years ago began working with an organization called GRIO, which is an independent knowledge translation and exchange organization based out of Ontario, Canada, to help us synthesize key findings and recommendations from our research. In fiscal year 24, there were 6 studies published that fall into 4 of those 7 categories: social impact, economic impact, casino impact on public safety, and responsible gaming evaluation. The report that I shared with you earlier, we worked with GRIO again, reviewed all of the universe of recommendations and findings from each of those studies, and highlighted those that seemed to pertain most to the Commission and potentially initiated within a short period of time. It's long and it's expansive. I thought that rather than go through all of it, I would select key research findings and recommendations and share those with you, with the understanding that if you have additional questions about any piece of it, I will do my very best to answer those, recognizing that our research manager, Dr. Bonnie Andrews, is a key person to this and is not available today. So there was one study in FY24 that focused on responsible gaming program evaluation, and that was conducted by Dr. Michael Wall. It's the study of players' awareness and engagement with the GameSense program in Massachusetts. In terms of key finding, there was a high awareness of the GameSense program among people who gamble regularly, but a lower perception of GameSense as relevant to all who gamble. In addition, there is a perception that GameSense is mostly for people who experience problem gambling rather than a resource for everyone. So a couple of the recommendations that came from that study is to develop campaigns targeted at people who are low and moderate risk and encourage engagement with a full range of GameSense services. In addition, develop a campaign to raise awareness about how GameSense has a broad range of resources and is meant to be used by everyone. And as you saw from the discussion earlier today about specific activities around Problem Gambling Awareness Month, you'll see that there were activities that actually related directly to these findings. There were 2 studies in FY24 that focused on social impact of gambling in Massachusetts. Both studies were conducted before the legalization of sports wagering in Massachusetts. The first, Gambling and Problem Gambling in Massachusetts, it was the follow-up general population survey. The second was a study on the impacts of advertising on gambling behavior in Massachusetts. Both of those were conducted by the Sigma research team, Drs. Bolberg, Williams, Martha Zorn, and Valerie Evans. A couple of key findings. The prevalence of problem and at-risk gambling remained relatively stable between 2013, when the baseline general population survey was conducted, and in 2021, when the follow-up was conducted. The prevalence of problem gambling among the population aged 18 and over was 1.4%, an additional 8.5% of the adult population were classified as at-risk gamblers. There was a notable increase in weekly and monthly sports betting among regular bettors. And again, this was actually before legalization of sports betting in Massachusetts. Among those who gambled regularly and who have gambled on sports in the last year, the percentage of people who placed bets weekly or monthly increased from 51% in 2014 to 80% in 2023. Gambling advertisements often emphasize positive experiences and downplay or ignore risks. There is evidence that indicates that exposure to these advertisements fosters favorable attitudes towards gambling and increases intentions to gamble, and potentially contributing to higher rates of gambling and problem gambling. Recommendations from these two reports: conduct research that would allow for a deeper analysis of survey data beyond just that prevalence rate. This can offer valuable insights about gambling participation in Massachusetts. Just a bit more on that. There is oftentimes a lot of attention paid to what is the prevalence of X, Y, or Z, in this case, problem gambling in the general population. And it's an important picture of what's happening, though oftentimes the value lies in deeper analysis to really understand who is most profoundly impacted and what are the strategies public health strategies to help prevent and mitigate problem gambling ongoing. Another recommendation was to review and consider strengthening advertising regulations. Yes. And then evaluate the prevalence and effectiveness of problem gambling prevention and treatment messages within the broader social media and online landscape. So that's speaking specifically to the disclaimer language. There is, in fact, a study that is currently underway through the Department of Public Health that examines some piece of that. There were two studies that focused on the economic impact of casinos in Massachusetts. The first, Encore Boston Harbor, the first 3.5 years of operation, an economic impact report between 2019 and 2022. And the second was an assessment of job quality at Massachusetts Casino that was published in 2022, or that was conducted in 2022, I'm sorry. The authors for both of these studies was the UMass Donahue Institute's Social, Economic, and Public Policy Research Group, led by Tom Peake, Rebecca Loveland, Kesmira Briest, Ellen Aaron, Ray McKenzie, Barbara Talagan, and Mark Millman. Key findings from these were as follows. Turnover rates at casinos are low compared to people working in accommodations and food services overall. However, turnover was much higher among employees who made under a living wage or held hourly positions or worked part-time. Casinos met or exceeded their goals for hiring people who were from minority populations, veterans, and local residents, but failed to meet the expected levels as it related to women. Encore Boston Harbor spent $290 million on outside firms, about half of which were Massachusetts-based, facilitated $1.1 billion in new personal income and $1.7 billion in new sales in Massachusetts. From June 2019 to December 2022, it's estimated that people who visited Boston, Encore Boston Harbor spent close to $3.8 billion at the casino and off-site. In 2022, likely the most representative year, it's estimated that people spent roughly $1.1 billion in and around the casino. The recommendations from these two reports: collect qualitative data from casino management and staff. Thoughts and opinions from casino management and staff, for example, either doing interviews or focus groups, could add to the present factual data that was already collected. And another one related to jobs: consider analyzing information about benefits, accommodations for persons with disabilities, and opportunities for career advancement. And finally, there's one study in FY24 that focused on public safety in relation to casinos in Massachusetts. And that was the report assessing the influence of gambling on public safety in Massachusetts, crime comparison analysis and changes in the MGM Springfield region. And that was conducted by Noah Fritz and Justice Research Associates. A couple key findings from that study: the city of Springfield experienced 62% of all regional crime incidents. Overall crime decreased since the opening of the casino. And it held true for all of the last 10 years, except for 2022. And that crime at MGM Springfield consistently follows a pattern that increases during the summer months. One key recommendation: enhance crime response through regular data sharing and unified strategies throughout the region. By leveraging crime data and related intelligence, agencies can strategically determine the optimal deployment of police officers, ensuring they're positioned at the right places at the right time. In other words, having Springfield and all of the area police agencies collaborate in sharing data and analyzing crime-related data. Again, the report is actually quite a bit longer. We thought it would be helpful to organize it based on the different types of research. And once you organize it on the different types of research, you can begin to triangulate that data based upon that type of research. And you'll see that through that full report that that's what we hope to do. So with that, I'll turn it over back to you, Commissioner Skinner.
Thank you, Mark, for your presentation. We, of course, know that the commission has had the opportunity to receive in-depth presentations about each one of these reports. And so I appreciate you mentioning that. Is the summary that you've provided here, is that what is going to be filed with the legislature, or is there a step that this commission has to undertake or process by which we are drilling down on some of these recommendations and converting them, if you will, into actionable steps that we could take as a commission? Could you speak to that a little bit?
Certainly. I think that the commission releases its annual report that also includes a summary of all of the research that was released during a given year. That is one way in which information on research findings and recommendations is shared with the legislature. I think that there's a lot of value in this report, again, as a summary, that I think it could also be valuable to share with the legislature and the committees that we specifically work with. I would seek your guidance on how to best proceed with that, and whether that's something that you wish to review and provide comment on, or obviously vote on. I think it's an important discussion. And Commissioner Skinner, you're right. I think I meant to say that up front. All of these reports have come before the commission at various points of time during the year, and that presentation is very important, right? And the intention of this is to kind of put it together in a package, much like the annual report, but specifically on the commission's research.
Mhm. And before I open it up to other commissioners, Mark, is there an ask that you have of us today? Could we just try to streamline what that
Okay.
is?
Yeah, let me attempt to do that. Would the commission like for this document, this summary of research findings for deliverables from FY24 to be packaged and amongst other things delivered to various committees within the legislature that work with the Gaming Commission?
Okay. Is there a deadline by which that?
It
would
just
need to
says
be filed?
annually. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Thoughts?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Broda?
So, Mark, there are a few reports that are mandated to go to the legislature, probably leadership, a couple relevant committees. I would just send it to the same folks.
Okay.
That we already packaged those mandatory reports to.
Right, Commissioner Broder, there are two studies related to sports wagering. One has been delivered to the legislature, and that was relative to kiosks, feasibility of kiosks in bars and restaurants. The other is an examination of diversity within the sports wagering industry, and that is close to being finished now, so should be delivered in the coming months to the legislature. But on the other point, yes, that could be a specific strategy.
Thank you for this. Thank you for the summary. It's very helpful to someone who came in the middle. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner Broda. It's helpful for someone who's been here and has received the full benefit of these in-depth reports, just as a refresher. And so I think, well, let me ask, do we have consensus that this document should be shared with the legislature? And I think pretty much the way that Commissioner Broder has suggested and that Director Van der Linden has suggested, yes. Getting thumbs up, all set. Okay. Well, there you go, Director Van der Linden. Thank you very much.
Okay, with the minor edit to how I, not just specifically the FY24 research agenda. I appreciate that very much, and I will make those edits and work with Executive Director Serpa and Tom Mills.
Thank
and
you.
Grace, obviously. Great, thank you so much.
Well done. All right. Item 10 comes next on the agenda, but I would like to go out of order. It just makes sense for efficiency. When we skip down to items 11 and 12, do we have any commissioner updates? Shaking of heads. Any other business? Shaking of heads on that one too. Okay. Items 11 and 12 are out of the way, and let's go back to item 10. We have meeting minutes, executive session meeting minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 sets. So we do anticipate going into an executive session. I will read this language into the record, and then we will determine whether or not the commission will enter into executive session by a vote. And we do not anticipate returning to the public session, which is why we took
items 11 and 12 out of order. And so the commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session to review minutes from previous executive sessions, as their discussion at an open meeting may frustrate the intended purpose for which the executive session was convened pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A4. August 17th, 2023, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, November 17th, 2024, and January 9th, 2025. I'm assuming that's the 11:28 a.m. set. Legal can tell me if I have that wrong. General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, 4, 6, and 7. Chapter 4, Section 7, 26F and N. And Chapter 23N, Section 6I. January 9th, 2025 at 2:28 p.m. And General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7 and C, and Chapter 4, Section 726N, January 23rd, 2025. And with that, we have a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Broda. All right, I'll do a roll call. Oh, we need a second. Commissioner Hill?
Second.
Thank you. And I'll do a roll call vote. Let's see if I get this order right. Commissioner O'Brien? Aye. Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Broder?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. And I will reiterate that the commission will not reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the executive session. Thank you, everyone. We have our link to join the executive session.